rules of the Jubilee Party constitution. This matter now going to court. The IBC cleared him, but now he has a court case before he actually even starts campaigning proper in here. I'll come back to you because it seems like you just have to be spokesperson right now for the Jubilee Party, the reefs notwithstanding, but now...
I've not been a very good one on this.
Here we are yet again.
Last time, you know, I saw on tweets and on bloggers saying, oh, he has no, the ID is not right. Now, when I talked about it, people thought it is me who has now just said that this is what, but no. At that time, I had, it was just bloggers doing it. And I was saying, it's going to destroy Mariga for nothing.
Right.
Now, this one of now, again, going to court in terms of the rules and regulations. I don't know whether they signed a consent to say our nominations will be the interview. I mean, they should now ask themselves, read their documents. But I think now we need to let it go and see now if IBC has allowed him to vie, then let Mariga now go in the ground.
Has the ship sailed? Because it seems like he's not yet out of the woods.
I know, because if it goes to court, again, and I'm not saying it is me, because people might think again it's me. It will go back to, it will bring in the issue of Keith Kilonzo.
And the precedent that was set there.
And the precedents that was set there. So it's not a very good thing for it to go to court. I am hoping the party can sit down and discuss without it going to court. But if it goes to court, just remember it will now bring out a lot of issues. Because Keith was denied to vie just the same way. And it was a precedent that was set in court. So if indeed Kinyanjui goes to court and follows what the Constitution of Jubilee says, that you have to go for a nomination process, what we need to ask ourselves within those nomination processes, do we have a process where you can just be interviewed in a room, or you're supposed to go and compete as any other, and people should choose you to be the best? It will really be an interesting time. But as I said from the beginning, and I'll still want to repeat as a sister, that I felt he would have been the right candidate when it comes to 2022. I felt this is going to just bring a lot of issues, skeletons that you have no idea. Because I always tell people, when you go to politics, you open your book, and people will know your history from far. And they will bring in many issues. Some will live, and propaganda is the worst in our country when we are playing politics. So I kept on saying it is important to safeguard yourself. And one thing also that this story has brought out, not only the skeletons or perceived skeletons of McDonald Mariga, but also how party mechanisms work when it comes to the nomination process. We've seen what has happened here. Yesterday, we had a story in the Standard, if I'm not wrong, Honorable Wandai, about certain candidates being refunded their nomination money in ODM because of tampering of the voter register. And the person who should have actually gotten that position didn't get it. Can you give us some clarity as far as that's concerned?
Firstly, on the issue of ODM, it is in public domain that ODM conducted a very clean and transparent nomination exercise in Kibra.
So what about
the person who emerged the winner was awarded the certificate and is flying our ticket. That is Imran Okoth.
Were there any issues with the register of voters?
There were no issues at all. If there were, they were very minor and insignificant issues. That's not an issue we need to focus on.
We just needed clarity because it was there yesterday.
I've clarified. And I'm clarified in my capacity as Secretary for Political Affairs. Yes. The ODM house is very intact and organized.
So even there was no money being refunded, everything?
No, those are clarifications of the media.
Okay, thank you. Now, let's move on.
Let's come back to this Mariga shenanigans.
Yes.
To us, again, these are an issue as a party. They are basically internal Jubilee affairs.
Right.
And clearly a manifestation or an extension of the raging Jubilee power play. Okay? The succession contest within Jubilee is manifesting itself, unfortunately, in the Kibra by-elections. For us, we don't really care what goes on in Jubilee. And eventually, whoever comes to face our candidate on 7th of November, we are waiting to teach each one of them a political lesson. Yes. And more so this Mariga fella and his sponsors. We want to teach them political lesson come the 7th of November.
As you can see, political lessons being promised for November the 7th from Honorable Wandai.
If the one thing I can say without fear of contradiction is that ODM is going to win this by-election hands down.
You've heard that, and you'll hold him to it, of course, when it comes to November the 7th. You've seen how this has played out so far.
Yes.
I mean, now, the law being brought into it, we're looking at the Elections Act. He's been now given the go-ahead by IBC, but still might go to court again. Was awfully jinxed for one candidate. We're not even talking about the constituency, but one individual.
Allow me to mention something before I come to that, what Honorable Wandai said about ODM. I've been a member of ODM before they chased me out of the party. I was actually surprised that they could run a very good nomination process, only for the party leader himself to complain openly. It was on media, and I do not know why Honorable Wandai is hiding his head in the sand. It was there all over.
He says it's the media that brought that up.
Well, I have not heard the party leader come out and say, no, the media has misquoted me, unless Wandai became the spokesperson of the party leader. But that, be it as it may, the Jubilee Party have a candidate. Unfortunately for them, is that there are legal issues that must be addressed. And I could want, perhaps I'll take a different position from what my sister Elachi is saying, that we should probably be cleared. We need to develop our laws. We need to develop consistency in the operations of our laws. We have had a case of K24 before, where a 3-judge bench made the decision that a registration slip in itself is not evidence that you're a voter. It's evidence that you made an application to be a voter. That is the law. Our EBC have no mandate, they have no jurisdiction to review that particular president and that particular law. So it is important for us to go back to court, if not just for Mariga, to have clarity on this issue. So that then going forward, we don't have confusion in 2022 by contradictory positions. This is not about Mariga. This is a decision, and as Wandai has put it, it appears there's internal power play in Jubilee. It's Jubilee's problem to give a candidate, if they have any, to go through the hassles. They made a choice on how to, unveil their candidate. They had the option of going for nomination. They will not have all these issues. But we've seen now, for instance, a decision by the committee of IEBC on the question of who is a voter for purposes of an election. Now, if we have that decision standing and it's not challenged, then I can assure you in 2022, we'll have a lot of confusion. So if not for any reason, we need the court to clarify this and find out and confirm whether they will change the legal position that was brought out in the K24 case, or they will uphold that same position.
To close the loophole once and for all.
Yes, so that we don't go to 2022 in political confusion in terms of the interpretation of who a voter is. But for Mariga's case, it goes beyond that. We've seen questions that are being challenged as to, in fact, they have two issues basically. That one, people are questioning about his age, and it's an integrity issue. That if you can be able to lie on a simple issue, as simple as you, when you are born, then we have a problem as whether we can trust you for other things. And secondly, the other aspect that Mariga's issue brings out, that he has never been a voter before. He just decided that he will vote of whatever the age we give him, but of course he's not 18, he turned 18 the other day. But he has never voted in this country. That for me is a serious question, that you seek to represent people that you've not cared about ever before. I think he needs counseling. As a matter of principle, there lies an issue. There lies an issue.
Okay, and we'll see if this goes to court and what verdict will be given, of course, as we move forward on that. But we'll also switch gears and talk about matters health, as we said earlier. The front page of The Star, talking about Chris Kirubi, he opens up on his fight with cancer. And this is an issue that we've spoken about for quite a while. We had a story that we ran earlier this week, talking about the plight of women in Embu, suffering cancer, not knowing where they can get assistance, no machines in the area. You go to hospital and they chase you away because there's nothing they can do at that particular point in time. We've seen it when the county government is talking about they have all of these equipment that they didn't want in their county. They are paying for equipment that they don't have personnel to train in. But at the end of the day, cancer is very costly, affecting more Kenyans. Are we doing enough as we speak right now, or did it become a political debate and we moved on? Honorable Elachi.
Well, first of all, I think when I say we are doing much, I think the government is really trying. I know next month is the breast cancer awareness month. I know as Embrace we'll be having a thematic area in that to really talk about prevention than more than the cure. I think we've put more emphasis on cure I want to thank God for Chris because I know from the time we saw him and today, for me, you feel encouraged that, but you can imagine the money he has spent and the money he has. And it means therefore you who doesn't have money, you can't survive cancer. But then now let's go and look at now the different cancers that we have. Cancer like cervical cancer, I think it's cancer that we need to now say goodbye to the way we've said to polio. And let us agree our children who are 10, because cervical cancer comes very easily. The men are the carriers. Now, if you start sex early, when you're a young girl and you start at the age of 14, you are very vulnerable to have cervical cancer by the time you get to your 40s. You will definitely find yourself in that challenge of having cervical cancer. And therefore, until now, we start understanding that it is also very treatable if you get it, if you get to go for the tests earlier. If you do your pap smear earlier, you are able to treat yourself and come back. So it is a cancer that both families should start now thinking. If you have your daughter who is not sexually active, take him for the jab, because now we have a vaccine that the government is really creating awareness on it. You find Rwanda today, all their girls, I think they are doing at 98%, they have been able to give the immunization. If we didn't have immunization of polio, of what? Today, where would we be? So let us not fear the immunization of cervical cancer, because we realize our girls become very active when they are very young. And that is the cause of this cervical cancer we see. And when you look at the human body of a female, when you get cervical cancer, why does it spread very fast? It's because your organs are very close to each other. You have your bladder, you have your ovaries so close, and so in terms of spread also, it spreads very fast. So I would really encourage parents, let us not start now looking at it from a church perspective and trying to see how it will. First ask yourself, are we able to now save these girls who are at the age of 10? In fact, in Australia, it's from 19 to 70, but I think it's because also where the country is, and you need a lot of resources to start that. So for me, this is a disease we have, and also our lifestyle. Because our lifestyle, let us agree also as a country, we just went wrong. This corruption of our seeds, of our fertilizers, of shortcuts, of bringing in medications, you find that somebody comes from India, you've done your chemo so well in India, you're coming for your 2 chemos remaining, for example. And when you do your chemo here, you're gone. I don't know how we do it here. I don't know what affects us. Let us also remember we need more nurses who can understand to take care even of the patients. And I think that is why you find that when somebody is doing chemo, for example, abroad, you don't even stay in the hospital. Do you know you do your chemo and in 3 hours you're told to leave? Here, you live in hospital. If you're not careful, the sugar level will be going down. Immediately, if you're not again careful, you're going into a stroke. So there are some things we need to ask ourselves as a country. And in the end, I always say, some of these things are in the Bible. Yes, we have to pray and tell God to forgive us in the evils we have done for us to end up in such strange diseases that we never used to have.
Honorable Ande, I'll bring you in on this as well, because not only are we talking about cancer, but lifestyle diseases, non-communicable diseases as well. We had a story where the Ministry of Health wanted to bring in a junk tax, so that to discourage Kenyans from eating junk food, make healthier options in terms of food, and probably that way we'd have less of these lifestyle diseases, as they're called. Is that the way to go? Legislate our way, tax our way to health, so to speak?
No, not necessarily. What I think we need as a country is a more all-inclusive mechanism and concerted efforts to address these issues, which are actually a crisis in the making, with a long-term view. Okay, these knee-jerk reactions have proved not to be very helpful in the past. And I think I agree with my sister, Senator Elachi, that we must start looking at these issues as issues that concern everyone. Okay? But more importantly, we need to create a budget to be able to tackle these matters. We can't really assume that by talking about cancer every now and then we are going to manage it without having a budget to address it. Right. Yes, it is also important to note that after a very long struggle, the country seems to have managed the issue of HIV/AIDS. Okay? Yes, and polio, as she said earlier on. So managing cancer is possible. It's doable. Right. The only thing we need is leadership, very, very clear leadership with the backing of everybody else. Right. Yeah. So
as we come to Dennis as well on this, we've spoken about the fact that we need more money, we need more resources there, we need leadership also to point in this particular direction. But even as at an individual level, because people are saying, okay, fine, the leaders will try and play their part. Money is never enough. Even with the problems we have in healthcare, it'll never be enough. But from an individual level, how can they actually move forward with this? Because we look at it every day and you know somebody or know of somebody who's suffering from this particular cancer or any lifestyle disease. Are we the ones to blame in terms of the lifestyle that we're leading? Because again, as I'd pointed out to Honorable Wandai, one thing the ministry was talking about is the fact that we're eating badly. Our lifestyles have really become sedentary, and because of that, all of these things are seeming to emerge at a more frequent rate.
I think there's a very small percentage of individual participation in terms of lifestyle to what afflicts you. No one wants to consume anything knowingly that is poison to your body. But I want really to put the blame where it is supposed to be, our leadership. Sometimes back, there was this government clamor of sugar with mercury. What happened with the sugar? It was arrested. We know mercury is one major ingredient that will cause cancer. All police officers stormed stores. We were told that this mercury has been, sugars have been arrested. But because of the power play and the leaders, this issue died. I don't remember even a single prosecution. I do not remember seeing government or leaders taking steps to ensure that we don't have these issues. I want to go back to what Honorable Elachi has just said, that we should not be having cancer as a problem if we only had things that could be sorting out. Government can put the issue of the jab for our girls, compulsory at some stage, just like they're doing it in school. But are our leaders doing that? What are we seeing in leadership? We are seeing corruption after corruption. We are seeing government medicine, we've seen even counties, they launch, they tell you they have bought medicine worth 300 million or 30 million. The following day, people are dying and they can't get the simplest medication from those hospitals. So we have a challenge in terms of our leaders. And I think for me, where I sit, is a question of leaders being committed to assisting Kenyans to solve the problems. Many of the Kenyans who will eat whatever they will get is because they don't have an option. There are very few Kenyans who will have a choice what kind of meal they will take. Probably this panelist might have a choice that today I will take greens and not meat. But there are regions where you don't have that luxury. You eat what comes your way because you do not have capacity to afford a decent meal. So if you are offered, even if it's, we've seen actually all over media, people laugh about it. When we see trucks carrying anything looking like it's food, when it gets an accident, Kenyans are scooping from the ground to go consume. I do not think it's a question of luxury. It's not the likes of Narbandai or Elijah who are scooping this. These are poor Kenyans who have only seen that God has been kind to them to cause an accident near their place so that they can get something to eat. So leaders need to rethink at their positions on how to assist Kenyans solve this menace by first creating sufficient wealth so that then they can be able to have the luxury to make a decision what they consume, and if government policy to ensure that then what needs to be done from hospitals is handled. Okay, fantastic stuff. As we wind up this particular segment, we have to have our parting shots even as we leave. We'll start with the lady and work our way down the table. Honorable Elachi, your parting shot. Mine is to just say, I think, yes, as Jubilee we have many issues, but as Jubilee also we always say, we trust in God and we believe in God. And if we do that, we must have faith in terms of how we handle ourselves and have faith that things can work and be honest to what we say
and we will come out of these blames of each other. If we get honesty and we agree to follow what the president is just telling us, because he is the leader and he's the anointed leader for now as a president. He's anointed by God to lead all of us. If we listen to him, things will work for Jubilee. If we don't listen to him, we will crumble, and we will be blaming what is not even nearer us.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Honorable Wandai.
Yeah, I think as a country we are now on the right track, following the famous handshake between President Uhuru Kenyatta and His Excellency Raila Odinga. This handshake has brought about tranquility, and peace, and stability in the country, which are very essential ingredients for sustainable development. It behoves all of us, leaders and the public, to support these two leaders as they put together mechanisms to bring the country as one entity.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, and of course, Dennis Anyoka, your parting shot.
Yes. Firstly, I want to mention that whereas I applaud the president's efforts to kick out corruption, more needs to be done. We need to see real action in curbing some of this very elementary runaway corruption that is really affecting people directly. But even as we go forward beyond 17 to 22 government period, our Kenyans generally, they need to now keep rethinking what kind of leadership do they want going forward. Because many of the problems that we deal with are created by the leaders they themselves have elected when they had options to elect the correct people. So probably the citizens have to take charge of their own lives by electing the correct people to take positions in leadership.
Okay, fantastic stuff. We shall leave it at that particular point. I was expecting Honorable Wandai to probably bring us some chocolate from Switzerland. Or is it in the car?
I'm a lot more than chocolates.
He doesn't look like a guy to carry chocolate.
He doesn't look like
He doesn't look like
thank you so much for your time this morning. Asanteni sana, of course, Dennis Anyoka, Honorable Opeo Wandai, thank you so much for your time, and Honorable Bichi Salachi, thank you so much. That's why we wind our news super review at this particular point in time. But as always, keep your views coming in on what has been said and what your views are on the news. You can get us at K24 TV. Keep those SMSs coming in on 21222. You take a short break. We are back on the other side as we get interactive. This is K24 This Morning.